had some wonderful speakers here today. They've given me a lot of encouragement, and I feel very much inspired. And I hope the country will feel equally inspired listening to them. A few evenings ago, a retired colonel and a young doctor were having a chat in my office. And the retired colonel was talking about June 4th, the linkage, the strong linkage, the passion of NDC evolving out of the activities and the political aims and ambitions of June 4th. But the doctor said to him, I can see the link you're drawing between NDC and June 4th as if one belonged to the other. I must disagree with you. June 4th belonged to the whole country. June 4th meant so much to all of us. While we are grateful that it's given birth to the PNDC and the NDC, there were those of us who do not belong to this party, this movement, but still very much believed in what June 4th stood for. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe I should collect these ladies and gentlemen and constitute a political check service once a week in every corner of the country, so we can share with people the necessary political language, what we need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, no man must apologize for the truth. We must apologize for lying, for stealing, for doing corrupt things, for doing evil things, and not the other way around. However, if certain truths get distorted and making a situation look bad, I had no choice but to render an apology for using harsh words. Ladies and gentlemen, on the stage the other day, I was sharing with you that you will hear a lot more of the evil things that happened in the past. People have cleaned and wiped and washed their ears, ready to hear some more booms today. I'm sure alongside the booms, there may be a few more apologies. No, ladies and gentlemen, I've done quite a bit of thinking and seeing the number of speakers today and all that they have said, I think we'll have to shelve the booms in the files for another period. Okay, maybe I'll let you know of only two. I saw something this morning. I watched out on BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, but I saw no sign of it. And I was beginning to wonder if what I saw on the social network was true or false. I sincerely hope that it is not fake news. The great big Shell, the petrol, the gas oil, the kerosene, big company that produces all these fuels called Shell, is supposed to have held a press conference apologizing for their past misdeeds, what they've done to the Niger Delta. I couldn't believe it. Have any of you seen it? Is it true? We don't know. It looks very true. So this morning, it's true. For a company as big as they are to apologize for the misdeeds, the evil things they've done to people who live in the Niger Delta and possibly in other parts of the world. I sincerely hope that we will see some more apologies from other corporate organizations like them, and to go beyond apologies, to go beyond reconciliations, and begin to repair some of the damages of the past. I sincerely hope that some of their African collaborators will also begin to consider doing the same. Because Africa, Black Africa, has suffered too long in the hands of these multinationals with their African collaborators. I'm also looking forward to that day when they will begin to apologize and make reparation for some of their misdeeds. Ladies and gentlemen, let me once again thank all of you for braving the odds to converge here and to listen to us. Mondays are very busy working days, we know it, and your presence here defines what you stand for and confirms your commitment to the values that we celebrate today. 39 years ago today, the people of Ghana rose up against the decade that led to the country's decay, brought it to its knees, and led to Ghana being described as a collapsed state. Many do not remember that the whole country was crying for an end to the decadence that had engulfed the country. Many do not remember that though the uprising was led by the ranks and junior officers, it was successful because the mass of the people was spiritually supportive in ensuring that June 4th happened to give the country a new lease of life. God owns every day belongs to God. But that June 4th, 79 was indeed a special day that God gave to us. Ladies and gentlemen, as soldiers, we always obey orders and carry out orders. But there is something I've always said about the Ghanaian soldier being second to none to any soldier in any part of the world. That is, our soldiers, our security personnel have a lot of conscience. Our soldiers are people of conscience. That was a day they could not help but obey their conscience, the dictates of their conscience, and this is what led to the victory of the revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, June 4th, 1979, and 31st December 1981 were not about individuals for a small group of people, or rather a small group of people. They came about as a result of a deterioration of all that Ghana stood for. The freedom and justice that we so proudly tout as our national motto had been lost on us. The house cleaning exercise that occurred in 1979 led to many sacrifices. Sacrifices that today some choose to distort for their selfish political ends. Hey, one day when we went to the house by the beach, to share a few thoughts with you. And I was telling a story about some of the little ones who are so vicious with their mouths. And I told a very interesting story, the kind of sins and nasty evil things they do, and turn around and insult people like Martin Amidou, like my wife, like myself. And I wonder if that's my wife they're talking about. I wonder if that's Martin Mamidou. I wonder if it's me from our own. That's when you say, I don't criticize Nana Addo for the things he does, to be quite honest, I'm at a loss as to what to believe or disbelieve. Because I know the things about some of our people say about my wife, Martin Mamidou, and myself are false. Ladies and gentlemen, what did this small little character do? After we lost the 2016, I said he went and paid cash for 2 mansions, one for himself, one for his wife. And of course, the man who was selling his property that he had built for sale should have been happy, isn't it? Because he was making profit. I said he was very sad and very angry. Why do you think he was angry? Because he had sweated to build these houses to sell for profit, and instead of the money coming into his account or being given a check, he was being given cash. What did that mean? And he had to spend the whole night counting the $1.5 million each times 2, the $3 million. Do you get me? When I came out of office, together with my wife, we never even had a foreign account to say we had even $10 inside it. Today, when they are tabling all the billionaires and the millions, that we have, they put Rawlings at number 9, I think. Second to last, and they've given me 50 million. Meanwhile, the last man behind me is Kofi Wayo. I don't know, did they give him 30 million or what? They've given him either 30 or 3 million. 30. As for Kofi Wayo, I know he's so broke that I believe he must have bought and paid the newspaper, put me there and put 30 million against my name. I have answered that kind of thing on 3 occasions. I will answer it again. They play these games as a way of whitewashing themselves, the genuine and the thieves amongst them, so that if Rawlings can have 50 million, there's nothing wrong with it. If I had it, I would have worked honestly for it, but I don't. They have it, the thieves and the honest ones. But they want it to be acceptable. They want it to look normal without anybody asking, how did you come by it? Ladies and gentlemen, you want to hear more? Bubra. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak of the history of June 4th because it stood for the restoration of the values of freedom and justice, probity and accountability, transparency and integrity, and dedication to the truth. Unfortunately, we have consistently distorted the history of June 4th and 31st December, mainly for parochial reasons. There is no doubt that our political rivals and a few of our original comrades have played their part also in the distortion by authoring books and telling stories that deliberately lie about the circumstances that led to the eruption. However, a great deal of the distortion of facts concerning the history that eventually gave birth to our party, the NDC, has come from our own, from within. President Mandela said to me one day that they are aware of two people who are in the pay of the apartheid intelligence machinery. One comes from them, the other one comes from us, Ghana, from within the AFRC. I swear, Bible, Quran, everything. I will never tell a political lie to you. I never make up stories. And he was asking me, what do we do? What do they do? Because that person is loved and admired. He's a member of the executive. That's a tight one. Because when the person has led a very deceitful life, can lie so beautifully, so convincingly, be so hypocritical, and ended up being loved, you dare not touch him or her. Because it'll be seen as if you're jealous, you're envious. You're doing him in so you can have all the power to yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? When sometimes we can lie so convincingly, takes are too good at this kind of game, and we take the people for a ride. His dilemma. Now they're free. They want to move forward. They can't afford to move forward with such a character. He's a treacherous person. Yeah. Ours has also played his part and is still playing his part. If you have to take bad money from bad people, do you go and take it from apartheid intelligence? You are sick. At the right time, his name will come out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll come to more. That's what you want to hear? David. So much beauty has been painted today. The beauty of June 4th. So don't let me distract undue attention from all that they've said. Let's just keep some of these little things, because we're dealing with the value of truth, how it can be misused and abused, where even if you want to say it, you're now becoming nervous. But right in the national anthem, the fearless honesty, that first verse happens to be one of my favorite verses in our national anthem. When it was first composed, those were not the words. This came later. I've grown to love that particular verse. Pay attention to it. Ladies and gentlemen, some people with deeply malicious motives within our party have, over the past 12 years especially, consistently spewed falsehood about our own history and attempted to downplay the story of June 4th. Indeed, many of these personalities have shamelessly dissociated themselves from our history in a bid to create the impression that it is a blot on the image of the party. It is that suicidal tendency that has brought us to where we are today. Today, The social democratic credentials that give birth to the party are lost on many of us. Our party has almost become a clone of what the other side used to be. Elitism and gross display of affluence have almost engulfed us, and as I stated in 2017, we are still at the crossroads. Ladies and gentlemen, June 4th represents a force that cannot be erased. June 4th is not about the semantics of probity, accountability, freedom, justice, truth, and integrity. It is about a unified force and power that can move mountains. It is a force that defies negativity and revolves on a fulcrum of ordinary people's power. It was the energy that led to the eruption of 1979. That energy was like the force of a gas explosion ignited by the gross disrespect and abuse of people to the point where the bottled up anger exploded in full force and took no prisoners. Pay attention, and took no prisoners. As our party attempts to pick up the pieces of what led to our deplorable loss in 2016, we have once again decided to employ the same tactics that led to us losing power. Some are still sponsored to denigrate those who are bold to speak the truth. Some aspiring candidates are abused by some national executives who are supposed to be non-aligned, at least publicly. Elections at the grassroots are fraught with complaints of varying degrees, and we're still pursuing an agenda that further alienates us from the core values of why we exist. Ironically, the party that was seen as elitist and detached from the grassroots rather associated itself with the grassroots to win the last elections while we closed the elitists. We chose the elitist route and lost miserably. The NDC needs to rise up from the ashes of 2016. But for us to be able to take the first steps to a resurgence, we have to be ready to defend and practice the social democratic principles that defines who we are supposed to be. We cannot continue to celebrate opulence and mediocrity and count ourselves as a viable alternative to the current government. When we make reference to unity, it should not be a parochial agenda aimed at marketing some individuals. The unity drive should be all-encompassing, driven by the passion and desire to repair the cracks that led to 2016. A unity drive should not further widen the cracks and alienate many of the valuable talents that we have in the party that can help to elevate it back to the heights that our rivals were envious of. Potential candidates deserve to be treated with respect and equity. Our backbone were the grassroots, the youth, and millions of women out there who were given the opportunity to serve their country in diverse ways, thanks to the efforts and painful sacrifices of many of our comrades, including my beloved wife, Nana. Ladies and gentlemen, the survival of the NDC is not hinged on individuals. It is not hinged on Jerry Rawlings. It is hinged on the core values that the theme for today refers to. If we do not re-embrace the values and continue to pay lip service to it, but practice the exact opposite, we will deceive ourselves into further embarrassing defeats. Our rivals in government have their own challenges. Doubts have been raised about transparency in the issuance of certain contracts. Questions have been raised about the size of government and its potential effect to the national purse. There are concerns about the commitment to anti-corruption as attempts are made by one or two individuals to counter potentially damaging undercover investigations. Incidentally, was it Al Jazeera that featured Anas again? He's gone and saved the lives of children up north who become victims of superstitious beliefs. It's a very interesting program. Ladies and gentlemen, when we had the chance, we made an outcast of our own, allowing our rivals to recognize the true worth and offer him such a sensitive national anti-corruption role. What does that make of us? In spite of all these, Anita, what does that make of us? Anita, mi vrouw die unti. Anita si mi yenu papa. Mi yenu papa susuke. In spite of all these, but she's getting too fair. Yanjai sani amanu samana no enye. Osi oyami bawo iti maminka. Echina chibiom na metina ha neka se mi yehu papa. Anita. Young binu mo ndisi so ya darga for power. In spite of all these issues, let us as a party not overlook the challenges plaguing our party. If we forget to clean our house well and spend our energies only attacking our rivals, it will not portend anything positive for our future. Ladies and gentlemen, I call on the youth of our party to strive to be different. I urge you to educate yourselves about the core values of the party. Let's make as many recordings of all that the speakers have talked about and share this. Because I'm not too sure our media will highlight a lot of what they said. You know, there's a little too much superficiality in the media. But these are things of substance that truly concern our lives. The core of our being. Factionalism and intolerance of potential rivals will lead to disunity instead of the unity that we clamor for. Ladies and gentlemen, when we speak of factionalism, let me repeat here, as I conclude, that Jerry John Rawlings is not a faction and will never be. Love me or hate me, but for our party to survive, the core values of what I stand for have to be respected and embraced. I am what I am because of those values. And the NDC rose to national relevance due to those values. reorganizing towards those core values is the best bet towards our resurgence. Thank you, and God bless us all. Wait! Hold on. Medawasi. Sit down, please. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. There is something. It's also part of the corruption. Something extremely dangerous happening in this country. And if we do not make the extraordinary effort to curtail it, contain it, and equip the police to deal with these matters, with this matter, things will be much worse for us in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And I'm talking about the irresponsible behavior on our roads. Look at the number of people who join buses from one area to another destination. It's like buying their tickets to death. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not good enough. Our roads will become too dangerous to ply on in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, if we don't begin to make the effort to make our roads safer. I keep saying that these things are actually not accidents, but some of us are not getting the message. The other day, I read in the newspaper the sentencing of that devious young boy, a group of them who tried to gang rape this struggling young lady in Kumasi. I thank that judge for such a speedy trial and sentencing the leader to 7 years. Let us see more of such cases being dealt with as swiftly as possible. A lot of these accidents or incidents we call accidents are not accidents. They are irresponsible behavior. In most countries, people would be charged for manslaughter. This is manslaughter. Why do we allow drivers to get away with this? I'm making an appeal to the law enforcement agencies, to citizens, and the responsible drivers on our roads to help us contain the indisciplined ones, to report them so that they can be dealt with, so that our roads can become safer. Ladies and gentlemen, I ply our roads very often, and I see the misbehavior, the mishaps very often. Ladies and gentlemen, we have people come into the country and they are full of praises for all the beautiful structures around town. The roads, this new this, etc. They can't even find their way to their homes or their old areas anymore because of the modernization, the changes that are taking place. Thank you. But what is the use of seeing these new modern, ultra-modern roads and structures if the human factor is still doing nothing about the unsanitary situation? Ladies and gentlemen, many, many years ago, when we didn't have these modern things, we didn't have so much electricity, we didn't have these ultra-modern roads and buildings, you wouldn't find any speck of dirt or an empty sardine container in front of your house without a tenancy arresting you and sending you to court. Our Our beaches were one of the cleanest. People didn't go to defecate on our beaches. We didn't even have universities. We had stand 7 certificate people. The social sense of responsibility was so high. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the number of universities, O-level, A-level, qualifications, etc. And yet, our social sense of responsibility has so badly declined. Just look around us. The unhealthy environment, the rubbish. So where is the development? There is something superficial. You had a healthier society in those old days than we do now. It's not good enough. My last point. I've always said that if we're not going to do something about family planning, we will be impoverishing ourselves. Hardships. We'll be inflicting hardships on our lives. The white people in the developed countries also used to discard family planning. Competition between Protestants, Catholics in America, in other places, till they began to wake up to the value of family planning. They could make money and savings, not just as a nation, but it started in the home. How can you afford mosquito-proof when that money has to feed someone? When you have 4, 5, 6 mouths to feed, how can they stay healthy? Ladies and gentlemen, I said, if we do not start doing something about it, the lack of family planning will become a coffin on our heads. Let's take it seriously. Let's do something about it so that we can enrich. A few days ago, no, a week ago, a week and a half, I should have taken the lady's telephone number. I normally do, but somehow I just neglected it this time. As we were driving to work, there was this middle-aged woman. She could have been in her 50s. From walking, and cars are very rare in that area. So as we drove past her, I told the driver, stop. Let's reverse and go and pick her up. Because she was having difficulties walking, and she seemed to be on a limp, or she was limping. So we gave her a lift, and where was she going? Oh, just to Legon. So I said, okay, do you mind if we drop you at the gate? We don't have whatever it is to enter, so we'll drop you at the gate. And she said, thank you, that would be nice. She was so grateful, so happy. When we dropped, I think I fished for some money. I can't remember, it could have been 1 point something million. You know, the 2 of the red ones and some small one. I gave her 1 point something, like to take a taxi next time. To take a taxi. Oh, sorry. You have to go for prayers. I've almost finished. To take a taxi. But this man, he couldn't come and tell me, the MC. Who's me? Dr. Agomenu. You know, when I gave this woman, elegant looking, 1 point something, to take taxi, do you know what she said? Which embarrassed me a little. Incidentally, she was going to visit her daughter at Legon. She said, thank you, I will give it to my daughter. Do you get me? Yes. How hard life is? I will give this to my daughter. Life is tough. Let's not make it any tougher than it is. And I keep saying, and you know, oh, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Let's meet again. I think I'll have to find an opportunity where we can be meeting once in a while and sharing thoughts. And maybe I can give you some of the shocking things I'm talking about. For you to wake up to the fact that money seems to be in the wrong hands, and they intend to use it to perpetuate their kind. And we have to contain this. God bless you. Thank you.